Today is March 31st, 2025. It is the first day of our small account challenge within our group. This is pretty exciting for me to be able to do this with you guys. We had kind of a difficult pre-market, not a lot moving. There were a couple of scalp opportunities if you were doing that, but I was looking for my one trade. I'm starting with a $500 capital for this first trade, and I will build up from there. So we had a couple of stocks on watch. Nothing was really looking like a setup for me. I kind of missed ICCT. Pretty cheap stock. I could have done really well. That turned out to be the trade of the day, but I didn't take it. But I'll talk about that in a minute. So my trade was on MYSZ. I had posted this one at 7:13 Mountain Time in the Discord alerts, and that's right when it was doing this little move right here. It had already done this, made this pre-market high to 227, sold down to the 50 EMA here, held it. Then it's held this $2.02 Discord level, and price just ranged in between the $2.02 to the $2.07 Discord level. That's actually a really good sign. Even though we had a little bit of price action above that, my objective on this one was, since it was holding to 50, it tested it several times, tested it here and here a couple of times, and it held. I did get in right at opening bell because this was the best looking stock to take, and I did fill at $2.09. I used the $2.07 as my stop loss, and as price would establish itself above this pre-market high, I would use that as my next stop loss. See how it hit it here? Really didn't show any declining volume on that when it tapped that. I stayed with it at the pre-market high test and used that as my new stop loss. 235 was my next target, and it made that no problem. We had strength through that. It made a high price on higher volume. Then we had some pullbacks, which is to be expected because it had just come through this target. The descending volume here would be expected. Then price hit this next level. So this became my stop loss. Once price had hit this level, now my stop loss was this. But we started to see a little bit of weakening. You hit a target, it's going to pull back. So I expected this, but this was a new high, pushing through this next target of $2.80. And that was the lower volume that Pat noticed, okay? Had this high volume here on this candle, but then this new high was on lower buyer volume. That's your first clue. I totally missed that clue, but I was paying very close attention to our cautionary levels. We started to see a lot of wicks in this area between these two levels. Yes, price hit the next target of $2.90, and it made a new high of $3.04. Then we started to see this stalling and price consolidating within this level, but it was consolidating at this point on lower volume, and I did notice that at this point. This was a strength candle. It wasn't a new high, but it was lower volume. And with all of this congestion between these two levels, but I told myself I'm going to wait and let it retest the high, and that's where I did get out at $2.94 on this candle here at 7:51 a.m. Mountain Time. And after that, the trend fell apart. But really the clue was, as Pat pointed out, was this candle right here, higher price on lower volume than the previous high volume bar. So that signaled that we were going to see a reversal. Even if you miss that, I mean, it's really important to catch these things, but even if you miss that, this area showed a lot of momentum slowing. So that was MYSZ. And this is how my account stands so far. I started with $500. My entry was $2.09. My exit was $2.94. I made $203.15 on this trade. So now my account balance is $703.15, and that trade only took 21 minutes. Let's go to ICCT because I know that a lot of you guys, there were several in the group who traded this one. And pre-market, I was ever so tempted to get in on this one, but I didn't. I would have made a couple of $100 just on this little move here, which would have been really nice. But then it did set up later after opening bell. It did one of these fabulous 200 EMA bounces. It actually reclaimed all of the EMAs at that point. So then it was a matter of climbing the stairs and staying in as long as volume will confirm. And here we had a high price on this one on slightly lower buyer volume. So that shows that, hey, you got to plan an exit soon. It's kind of stalling out here at this point. If you had got in at this 200 EMA bounce, it still would have been hard. But here's the thing about the 200 EMA. It's a very strong level. If price is going to reclaim it, then you're going to see a really good, profitable move out of that, especially if it's reclaiming the 50 and the 34 and everything. We also had this pre-market high. Price pushed hard through that. That showed a really really good sign of continuation there. But you didn't have to wait for it to get above this 80 cents or whatever it was, 81 cents or 82 cents. You wouldn't need to wait for that entry. You could have got in at this entry because you knew that it was a 200, a 50, and a 34 reclaim. Here price came back down. It held it. So you could have got in on this one or this one. This was an ongoing trend. And then just use the Discord levels as your stop loss. Okay, so that's how you could have traded ICCT. The other one that I know people traded was NWTG, and this was another triple EMA reclaim right here. Okay, just like the last one. But you got to look to the left and decide where is the likely target. And we had this serious chop zone over here. And price did struggle a lot with that. It struggled on this level, right? It came back, it hit it, it came back down, tested it multiple times here. Then it finally broke through. Then we had to deal with this level. You know, it had to deal with some pretty heavy resistance from here all the way up to here, from this $2.10 all the way up to like the $2.35 level. With the help of the reclaim of the triple EMAs, you know, you can usually expect a pretty good move out of that. This is what I want you guys to look for at opening bell. When you see a sell-off after pre-market highs, just look for a potential reclaim of these triple EMAs, assuming price is below them. If it's not too far below them and it's holding a level, price is holding a level pretty well and doesn't want to go below it, then you can probably expect volume to start pouring in and look for that reclaim. Here would have been a really good entry on this one if you were fast. Otherwise, you've got to wait for the entry here. Honestly, this one required some risk tolerance because the pullbacks were deep. Pullbacks, when you have a lot of chop, are going to be deep. Okay, we talked about that in the last video. So just keep that in mind. That's all I have for you in this video. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, let me know and we'll talk soon.